One of the reasons astrologers love to read celebrities is because their lives are pretty well documented so that we can synthesize how things manifest in reality. During my study, I'm curious if natal astrology would work for a group like BTS instead of a person, and you can decide for yourself after the video ends. The first challenge is to find the right birth time. Should I count the time when the MV was uploaded or when their first debut stage aired? But hour. I even read the metadata to find out. Finally, I decided to use the time and date of their first live debut showcase at HYBE Hall, 12 June 2013 at 8 p.m. KST. This might be surprising, but here in the picture, you can see the members celebrating it. They were very excited about this day, but then Big Hit made June 13th the official, since it's their first TV debut. Immediately, we have the sun in the 7th house of partnership. In a person, it could mean their personality is highly influenced by their partner, the kind of person who's lost without someone they love. In BTS, the members and their genuine personalities are the keys. Remember the early branding of them as tough men or a Zion persona like Cutie, Jungkook or Jin? It didn't work well because the group needed to project who the members truly are, 7 as one. We'll see later that this is a recurring theme of their chart. At the same time, the sun in the 7th house could also be an indicator of fame, and by that, of course their personality is greatly affected by others. The rising sign is Sagittarius with no object inside the house. However, the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, which is also located in the 7th house, confirming that the company cannot force their identity. BTS is the members, not a design concept made by some higher-ups. Rising Sagittarius means their journey is full of leap of faith, be it as the man behind the bow or as the arrow. Since this is a night chart, the moon is the more defining aspect than the sun. The moon is supposed to represent the more private part of us, the self when we're resting at home or with closest friends, but this isn't the case for them. First, it's in Leo that naturally draws attention to their private selves. Second, it's in the 9th house of travel and journey, which can be interpreted as having many international fans. To think of it, this placement represents idols well since they have to broadcast their daily life through social media, live streams, behind-the-scenes videos, and more. Isn't that what makes idols different from other musicians? Even several days without social media present worries the fans. So technically, they have an extra job except for singing, dancing, and making music. This placement makes them always under the spotlight. One of the reasons I love Hellenistic astrology is the concept of benefic and malefic planets, because that's how life is. It contains ups and downs, good luck and bad luck. It's balanced and doesn't shy away from negative things because managing them is crucial. In the 7th house, we see both the benefic and the malefic planets, Jupiter and Mars, respectively. It means the members make and break them. It's a blessing to meet each other, working and maturing together throughout the years. Still, as we learn from their latest festa, it may slow down their individual growth. Although it's hard for them, considering the members are their comfort zone, we should applaud their bravery in taking a new path because it's the right decision. If not, Mars will show its full effect. Besides, this is the busiest house for them. The relationship is by no means effortless, yet it will stand the test of time. Gemini is Jupiter's detriment, which means the quality manifests uniquely. Well, what's more unique than seven strangers with different personalities who are forced to live together but become a real family in the end? It's like an arranged marriage when the two people sincerely fall in love. One of the most interesting parts of this chart is Pluto in retrograde at the second house of resources. It's in Capricorn and the ruler is Saturn at the 12th house. It portrays the obvious. They started as nobody with nothing. They were unknown at first and from an unknown company that couldn't provide much. But the second house also means how you earn money, and since it's in Capricorn, they do it through hard work and perseverance. Retrograde means delayed, and Pluto means although it's quite slow to reach success, once they get to that point, it has a transformative quality. I see it as their global success around late 2017 that brought spillover effects everywhere. Here's the most impressive part. They have the midheaven point at the 11th house of communities instead of the 10th house of occupation as most people do. This is the chart of beloved celebrities, even though cult leaders and politicians also often have this placement. On BTS chart, no doubt it represents their relationship with ARMY. It's in Libra, which is a good sign of harmonious connection. The 10th house is in Virgo, so the members know how to be in service and please fans in return. ARMY Forever, Bangtan Forever is literally in this chart. The ruler of Libra, Venus, is at the 8th house of undoing and resources given by other people. In a person, we often use it to determine inheritance, but why undoing? This is strange but makes sense because half of their success isn't because of them, but because of fans' hard work that they have no part in it. For example, ARMY sent their CDs to American radio so they would have more radio play, and Billboard's top social artist award that started everything is also thanks to fans. ARMY, especially those who stayed with them during the formative years, had done so much to open the doors for them and make things possible. Without the dedicated ARMY, there's no BTS as we know them today. Next, let's look at the 4th house of home and private life. Since this isn't a person, I interpret it as the K-pop industry, as in the environment where they grew up. Remember, there are many trainees before the current members, and they have friends in the industry. They watch how some make it while others don't. They witness how some were hurt, even to the point that their dreams were crushed and they suffered financially. They're the insiders of K-pop's darkest secrets. So, it makes sense that Neptune in Pisces is here because it always wants to transcend what's seen, seeing through deception and manipulation. Because Chiron is also here, there's a sense that they want to do something, communicate it with the influence of Mercury, but they're also reluctant and want to go with the flow. Just like how it trines one malefic and one benefic, Saturn and Venus. It's possible, but it may take a long time. Still, RM already shared some of his concerns regarding the maturity of K-pop idols, and it's a great reflection. On the other hand, the ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and it's once again in the 7th house. It means they consider the members as their second home or second family. To see them as artists, we can pay attention to Mercury as it rules communications. And to see their relationship with fans, we can look at Venus as it rules love. Coincidentally, both conjunct each other in the sign of Cancer, which means those two are inseparable. Not to mention, Venus is the greater benefic of the chart. By this placement, BTS is an artistically gifted group. They have great works, but great works mean nothing without audience, which they also have. Since it's in Cancer, their artistry is combined with sensitivity and sentimental quality. Music for healing is their identity. Why did HYBE change it? Because the healing process is not only for us, but also for them. Wings is almost like an art therapy session because the themes came from their anxieties. Mercury and Venus square Uranus in the 5th house of creativity. This is a challenging aspect that I see as limited artistic expressions. There's still a repressed, rebellious Aries side of them, as a group or individually. Moreover, Mercury and Venus oppose Pluto, so sometimes they want to go deep or explore something for quite some time, but they can't always choose that path because of a fear that comes with being idols, such as being abandoned by the industry or fans. So it's time to see them as mature artists, which means we have to be more patient and lessen our demand for new productions. It's common for a musician outside K-pop to produce one album in 2 years while doing various side projects, collaborating here and there. The more they are involved in the process, the more time it needs. As a result, HYBE will rely on IP rights to make games, stories, or any kind of merchandise, as we've already seen today. Saturn is the greater malefic in the night chart, and we can see it in the 12th house of hidden enemies. It's in Scorpio, and the 12th house is the joy of Saturn to make it more intense. This isn't the place for brutal fighting, but silent backstabbing. I'm so sorry for saying this, but it's in the chart. Even though BTS has many haters, they're beyond social media drama, so we don't have to engage in it. I read somewhere that Twitter only happens on Twitter, and I couldn't agree more. Here, I see that they clash with institutions. Either it represents the Western music industry, politics, legal matters, or something else, allegedly. Something systemic that has no single physical entity. To illustrate, recently the president of the Korean Singer Association told BTS to reconsider their decision in case the Korean wave will vanish. In another case, the location of World Expo 2030 hasn't been decided yet. The application process for the host city is still ongoing, so again, leave it to BTS to make it happen. What if Busan doesn't win? I don't know, not their fault. My point is, no matter how much financial or cultural value BTS brings, the members are not commodities. Surrendering the fate of a billion-dollar company, a music industry, or a nation to Seven Boy is too much. It passes the point of honoring them to burdening them. In general, there's a certain sense of unhappiness, but it's hidden perfectly. We know RM is the group leader and J-Hope is the performance leader, but based on my previous video, I think Jin leads in these endless formal negotiations. Interestingly, the North Node that represents their vocation is also here, while Saturn could symbolize a sense of sacrifice. Whether they like it or not, they know they must accept their fate. With great fame comes great responsibilities and expectation, so they do their duty like wounded yet resilient warriors. I cannot imagine how many things the members have bottled up and compromised throughout the years. Isn't this the message of arson, persona, and yet to come? To lighten up, the Lord of Fortune is also here, hence, the healthiest way to deal with it is to turn their hardships into art. The more honest the songs, the better it is for their mental health, even though huge success won't always follow. It reminds me of RM's frustration because life goes on, which he made with all his heart, never achieved the same recognition as Dynamite. Come on, Mono deserves an award. This is the most complicated part of this video. I will only mention the technique, but I won't explain how it works because it requires hours. This one uses zodiacal releasing to divide life into chapters and determine the peak periods. It comprises a bunch of dates like this, but you don't have to worry about them. Just pay attention to the yellow highlights. As soon as BTS was born, they were already in a rare Aquarius peak period of 30 years, which can be divided into more detailed sub-peak periods. Notice that peak here doesn't necessarily mean positive or negative, but the busiest part of someone's life. Until 2043, we can still feel the impact of BTS, and the general public won't forget about them yet. No time to rest. This is why I think they'll never disband, no matter how many changes happen within the group. Nowadays, we see groups like Soyeonside and GOT7 whose members are on different labels but are still together. Anything is possible. Usually, this chart happens in child stars, child prodigies, or someone who gets famous at a young age. Unfortunately, not every period is as long as Aquarius. For example, Libra is 8 years and Leo is 19 years. It could be the reason most child stars don't last long in the industry. They pass their peak period. Here's the breakdown of the sub-peak periods. The Aquarius chapter was the establishment. Their laser focus on one thing, making it in the K-pop industry. Period. The Taurus chapter was the busiest time. They really stir, enter, and speak yourself in the middle of a world tour, 2 masters in Korea and Japan, a festa, prom party, and a bon voyage shooting. The beginning of 2018 was also the time they considered the contract renewal. Currently, we're in the Leo chapter, which, to no surprise, started recently in June 2022. This one is the major one. There are also many losing the palm points which happen during this long Aquarius peak that indicate drastic transitions. Around November 24, the company was almost bankrupt after working hard for Dark and Wild but didn't gain expected success, so they found a new approach with Hwa and dropped the old style. Around March 2020, they changed every plan due to the cancelled world tour, and Mod 7 signifies the end of their long reflection of youth era. Around November 2021, I believe it's when the discussion about the new pod took place that we only knew recently. Around December 2023, June 2025, and October 2030, I'm not sure. Even during astrology consultation, only the client can make sense of this timeline. Nevertheless, we can find more information. This one uses a technique called annual perfection to determine the time when some prominent houses will be activated. For example, the 7th year activates the 8th house of that. This is when many K-pop groups disband, most likely when they have strong malefic planet or hard aspects. Because BTS has the main benefic planet here, and the ruler of Cancer is the nurturing moon, it only manifested as cancelled plans is 2020, but they found different ways to connect with fans and even gain success with Dynamite. 2021 activated the house of Journey with the Sun as the main planetary ruler because it's in Leo. Since there are 2 luminaries that represents the self, it could mean the discussion about the personal journey. In 2022, we moved to the house of occupation But since the midheaven is in the next house of communities, this theme would last until 2023. There's a strong indication that the previous sub-peak period would be about this. Don't take it as a sign of disbandment, as you know my view about this, but take it as a sign of significant change. 2022 to 2023 are relatively good productive years based on the signs and the ruling planets. However, we should pay attention to Saturn in the 12th house and Mars as the ruler of Scorpio that will be activated in 2024. Double malefic. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, so the situation might be related to financial issues and a media frenzy. I share this not to scare you but for us fans to be prepared to support them no matter what will happen. What breaks my heart from this talk isn't how they chose to focus on their individual project, but how much they're scared to upset ARMY. I mean, we're good with anything as long as you're happy. Please trust us. To sum up, think of 2024 as the time they need us the most. Because even by the stars, BTS and ARMY share a deep bond. At the core, it's a relationship between two parties and nothing more. Everything else is just passing through but will never break it. So, don't let it, okay? This is why I adore astrology. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. What matters is, does it work for you?
아무도 안 알아주겠지만 내가 알면 된다는 마음으로 만들고 뭔가 이게 또 좋은 어떤 나름대로 뭔가 의의가 있는 하나의 모뉴먼트로 남기를 바라면서 작업을 해가지고
행복하냐? 그럼 됐다. 그럼 됐어.
그래서 얘네들 무슨 말을 해요?
그래. 아니 난 니네가 건강해서 다행이야.